President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin later today. Putin has been welcoming delegations from 36 countries today as the host of the 16th BRICS Summit of emerging economies. Ramaphosa arrived in Kazan earlier ahead of the summit. The Kremlin says the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will also be attending, but this has yet to be confirmed. Moscow says the gathering is evidence that Western efforts to isolate Russia over its invasion of Ukraine have failed. The summit is the first to be held following the BRICS expansion in January, when Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates joined the group, with Saudi Arabia still yet to formally join the group. Well, for more on the BRICS Summit, I'm joined in studio by SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena. Thanks very much, Sophie, for joining us. So a lot to look forward to. This is a big deal. BRICS coinciding, the meeting coinciding with the old Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF and the World Bank, happening at the same time. What can we expect?
Well, we are correct. At a time where the debate is raging around the transformation of the financial system, you know that this is something that the Secretary General of the United Nations has been championing. You know that he has been attending all these big meetings, your G7, your BRICS, your G20, to try and push for the transformation of those institutions, because they are not doing what they are supposed to do, particularly when you look at the needs of the developing nations. And I think this issue is going to dominate the discussions. As you know, that BRICS is a group of countries that are looking at working together for development. Earlier on, President Vladimir Putin had a meeting with the president of the BRICS Bank, that is Dilma Rousseff. They were talking about this issue. President Putin saying that the issue of the national currency settlement must be high on the agenda of this meeting, so that you are able to avoid the geopolitical risk. You know that when Russia experienced challenges of sanctions due to the war in Ukraine, the use of SWIFT became a weapon for developed countries, and therefore there were challenges in terms of payments that were supposed to be done in relation to Russia. And therefore this is something that Putin is going to push, that all member countries, when they do business amongst themselves, they must use their national currencies. They shouldn't rely on the dollar, because the issue of BRICS currency, it's something that is going to take time. And you are correct, this coincides with IMF and World Bank meeting in Washington. And those who are in Washington will be monitoring the talks in Russia. Those in Russia will also be talking to their representatives in Washington, telling them perhaps the positions that they must take, because these member countries, most of them, they have a strong influence also in relation to IMF and the World Bank.
Yeah. Sophie, so the order of the day, the agenda really is to talk about development, development economics. You talked about the financial architecture, and Putin talking about the countries using their own currencies when they're trading with each other. But isn't there a danger with everything that's happening in the Middle East, and of course Iran being very pivotal there and being a member of the BRICS, and also other conflicts that are taking place? Isn't there a danger that they're going to overshadow discussions?
I don't think so. Putin does want to prove to the West, particularly to the United States of America, particularly to the US, that his country can prosper without those big developed North countries. With the developing South, you can still become a powerhouse in terms of trade and investment. But of course, the issue of the global politics will also be discussed. President Putin just now is meeting the Prime Minister of India, and I think on the table those issues will be discussed, including the breakthrough where China and India have agreed on that standoff in relation to the border matter. And you can see that there's progress, that's political progress, and therefore there's no way they cannot look at the war in Ukraine, but including the Middle East. And as I came in here, I saw the report that the president of Iran has just left Iran. He's going to attend this meeting. Clearly, he's going to push for discussions around what's happening in the Middle East. You also have the United Arab Emirates there. You have Egypt. I saw the leader of Egypt arriving, and you know that Egypt, much as the country is on the continent, because it's in the north and the border with those Middle East countries, it is suffering a lot. You know, those attacks at the Haifa border, and Egypt has to deal with refugees, and I think this matter will be key for Egypt. South Africa, you know, they took this matter to the International Criminal Court and also to the International Court of Justice, and therefore President Ramaphosa will speak to President Putin about this, and also about Ukraine and Russia matter. You know that he led the African leaders to Kyiv and also to St. Petersburg to try and find a solution to this issue. But President Ramaphosa will also take President Putin into confidence in terms of the formation of the government of national unity. You know that a party like the Democratic Alliance is really, really against Russia. And you know that they were supporting America during that standoff in relation with that Russia vessel that docked in Cape Town. And therefore, that led to the tension between South Africa and America. And I think he is going to assure President Putin that much as he has brought in DA in the government of national unity, the DA will not influence the foreign policy of South Africa, because that will be a main concern. Because I know even on the continent there are concerns in terms of South Africa's posture going forward since the establishment of this government of national unity. Many African countries are not so comfortable.
Thank you so much for your contribution there, our international news editor, Sophie Mokoena.